I like how people get super loud right as I hit record. That's always fun. Welcome to episode 2 of The Wheel of Pod. Music playing in background. It sounds amazing. Hold on. Wrong one. No, wrong one. YouTube does not like that I've used the song. They've already got me in legal trouble from the side I got it from.
Weird.
Should we wait for the beat to drop?
Is there a beat drop?
Oh, yeah. Of course it's a beat drop. It's a podcast. There we go. All right. Episode 2-ish of The Wheel of Pod. Because Amazon really screwed us with the releasing 3 episodes at once.
That's a lot to talk about.
It's a lot, and we didn't, and we shouldn't, because that's not how these podcasts work.
They fit in a whole book in just 8 episodes. Each episode is a lot to talk about. To talk about 3 at once is a lot, but we're going to do it today.
Yeah. And I would like to pay a moment of respect to Perrin's wife, who was murdered unnecessarily in the first episode.
But I don't know if it was unnecessary. I've been thinking about this. But actually, I felt like if you just saw the characters, I hadn't read the books, I'd have been like, she looked like the cooler one. Like, I want to know her backstory. Maybe she's coming back because she looked cooler than, frankly, half the characters.
I know we shouldn't rehash what we talked about in the first episode, but like, if that's the case, why introduce her in the first episode and kill her? Because then everyone who is just watching the TV show is like, man, I really want that character from episode 1.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to save it.
Okay,
I have a whole thing on this. I'm going to save it for later because I think I'm going to make a point later.
We don't have our rotating cast of a third guest, third co-host this week, so it's just Andy and I, unless Jason wants to step in. All right. Well, we'll bring you in. We'll bring you in later for our what's pissing us off this week in the Wheel of Pod.
Yeah, because I think that's a good
I've
episode.
got thoughts, but okay. So let's summarize episode 2. You go first because you're better at this than I am.
Okay, so at the end of episode 1, which you talked about, there was kind of the big battle, and episode 2 is they're on the run, and this is very Tolkien-esque. I think we all remember this from the Lord of the Rings movies, where they're running through the forest and they're being chased. And I felt like this felt authentic. It wasn't like too suspenseful, but also you knew they were in danger. And I think it had some great moments. I think even you pointed out, whereas fans of the book, you saw some really cool details, like how they were spaced out. And I don't want to steal your thunder, but Lan going back and forth and watching the front and the back. And we can talk about this now. They included the song, which was a big fight to get that song in. And that was actually one of my very favorite moments of the episode. The song rocked. And the fact that they have, and I think we see this a lot, they had a song that talked about a past and a history. And to them, it was just like, oh, this is just like a silly song. But it actually was a momentous thing that's just not talked about because it's so far back in their history.
I will say the story of how the showrunner kept fighting to keep that scene in makes me trust him more, because that is an important world building scene where nothing exciting happens. And
it sounded so good.
It's not that they wrote that song for that scene. That's a new song they wrote.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very good. They discovered all the actors can sing, so that's nice.
Weird.
And yeah, it's just Moraine talking for 4 minutes, and which in early Game of Thrones you'd get a scene where a character would talk for 4 minutes, but Amazon's like, we want weird Trollocs chasing you in the forest.
No, this need to be fast paced. I think to get people's attention and keep it. And honestly, they're putting a lot into each episode, so I think that episode 2 slowed it down a little bit. There wasn't as much. It gave a little bit of history, wasn't much character development. But I think it took us, it was like that Gap episode, so we're not going to talk about it too long.
Yeah.
But they eventually get chased into Shadow Logarth.
Which apparently, part of that is a real set, which I didn't believe because it looked super CGI to me. But apparently some of that was real.
Yeah.
So, good. Again, I don't know how to feel about something that I think is 100% fake. When I found out it's only 50% fake, I'm like, am I the problem?
Yeah, I think you are.
I disagree.
You got to... you just got to embrace it sometimes. The CGI is not necessarily 100% the best, but it's actually a lot better than what I've seen. This is not...
Is it $10 million good is my question. Because that's how much they spent on each episode. Is it $80 million good? That's how much this season costs. Think about that.
For me to see my dream become a reality, I mean, yeah.
Here's my thing. Same thing with the Harry Potter books. honestly, you could have started the story halfway through, and I've been a lot happier because then we could like bypass all this.
Well, and the CGI,
Bullshit.
and I mean, this was 12 years ago now. Maybe not that far, but for Harry Potter, but that CGI was pretty bad too.
Yeah. Yeah. Christopher Columbus shouldn't be allowed to direct things anymore. I know it's a hot take, but I'm laying it out there. Christopher Columbus, not a good director. Also, change your name, buddy. Like, not great. No longer holds up. Anyway. Okay, so
They made a Shadow of Logoth,
yeah, so like this,
and then they get separated.
yeah, this is the breaking of the fellowship episode, right?
And I think this is a very important point in the books. Like when to separate a party this early on in the TV show and in the books and be like, hey, you know what? Instead of putting it together where we all fight together, we're going to separate you and you're all going to go on different adventures. And it's going to be all these different points of view is not that like it's kind of a risk. And it obviously pays off in the books, and I think it is going to. And from what I've seen, it has so far on the TV show. But that's not that common for it to be like, hey, we're going to bring these characters together, give you some background, and then we're going to separate them. But that's where we're at the end of 2. And then we also kind of bring up your point about what you thought about the city besides the CGI.
Sure. Listen, I thought the city was great. Like, it's supposed to be a massive, huge. I loved I don't know how much of that wall was real, but the crack in the wall, like all the way up, well, incredibly well done. Like, kind of how I imagined it. And because, like, you know, they tell the story of how they, like, you know, locked themselves in from everyone. And it looked like a weirdly, like, dirty but pristine city. Like, what would happen if everyone just disappeared from a massive city?
They nailed the look. It actually looked better on screen than I had imagined in my head, which was a little bit too much pristine, with just like a layer of dust.
Yeah.
And that actually made more sense.
I liked it being white. Like, in my reading the books, I didn't think of it as a white city, but seeing it as a dirty white city, like a dusty white city, I thought was a nice touch because, like, white has implications. And if everything was like, you know, onyx, that would feel different to me.
And we're going to continue to talk about the difference between the books and TV show, not as much as we did the first episode, but
I disagree.
There was well, we might. You know what? Who knows? There's a lot of differences.
I'm reading the first book now, so I have lots of thoughts.
When we had the first episode, I was shocked by how many changes there were. I knew there was going to be a lot. It was more than I was expecting, and it took me a minute to get over it. I feel like I'm over it now. But clearly, as I see it, I'm just going to be like, okay, you know what? This is different. Sometimes they did it better. Sometimes I don't know where they're going with it because it's not what I expected. With this, it's a little bit different. I love the way they made the Mush and Chin and the evilness of the city and how it looked and how it separated them and how it felt real and not hokey. And I thought it was actually pretty cool. We're going to spoil a little bit. In the books, there is a ghost that they discover first that kind of leads them to...
A ghost?
Yeah. You know, but even in the books, now that I look about it, was kind of hokey, you know? And it could have felt very Scooby-Doo.
Well, yeah, because, like, it's a scene to show how stupid Rand and Matt are. Like, how naive they are. And I feel like you can do that in other ways, and I feel like they prove that fact. Like Matt's an idiot, and he's gonna get Rand in trouble a lot.
Well, they're from a small town. Yeah, they're naive.
Town. Yeah,
and you can tell that, like, when they had their purse pocketed.
Yeah,
they're like little drawstring. That's the perfect guy saying, "Oh, hey, you're not in Edmonds Field. Sorry, of the Two Rivers anymore.
Of the Two Rivers, yeah.
And because, again, you can't just trust people.
R.I.P. Edmonds Field.
Yeah, R.I.P. Edmonds Field.
Yeah,
Which I'm still
and
gonna call it
Perrin's
that,
wife.
but
Yeah, I mean, the city has a name. Why not include the name? Whatever. I want our listeners to know, you listeners and viewers, you can't see this, but what's playing on the TVs behind us is female WWE, and it's very distracting. So, the most distracting of things, it's SmackDown tonight as well.
I love the tavern scenes so far in this show, and the fact that we are doing this not from a bar, from a tavern, is great. You know, it's not as rowdy as those taverns, but you know, we are here. We're having some drinks.
Yep. Cheers. Cheers.
Because I feel like that is the best way to watch it and enjoy this. So, to Inner Circle Vodka Bar, thank you for hosting us, and like we have some audience here.
Yep.
We're going to toast to that too.
Long may the Inner Circle Vodka Bar reign.
Yes. But like doing the podcast from a tavern, I think feels a little bit more fun and authentic. And you know what?
I would like to smoke some tabak.
Yeah.
or some
tabak.
Yeah, some tabak. Yeah.
Some good Two Rivers tabak.
Yeah. Yeah. Of the Two Rivers tabak.
Of the Two Rivers tabak. So we didn't have the ghost, which I think was actually an improvement. And because it could have and I thought that the way they made the evilness good, and that the way they got separated felt like, oh god, yeah.
Listen, that horse dissolving scene was
terrifying.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that was
like,
creepy.
They just straight up like, again, obviously they didn't kill a real horse, but
they might have. We don't know.
You don't mess with people and horses. People love horses, and that Black King just ate that horse. And there's just the horses were like, fuck this, I'm out.
It's like you don't right away want to kill like horses and children.
So, okay, I have a geographical question. Okay. So I liked the added touch of them all having to jump off the top of the walls into water. But how many sides of the city is surrounded by water? Did they jump off the same side, just far apart from each other?
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of those ones where it's on a point, almost like...
It's like an isthmus situation? Like, what is it?
It's a little bit of an isthmus. I think you have a lot of cities that kind of get on the isthmus of that. And so I think they just jumped off, at least in the books.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah. And I think that's what it was. And so you kind of saw them. They were like opposite sides of the building, both having water on it.
Yeah.
And so, and when you're in a river, depending on where you jump off and where the things are, you're going to end up very different places. Which means that
we are river people here in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
We are.
We are.
Can I throw in a question?
Yes.
Yes, perfect.
All right.
Wait, would you want to go? Wait, I don't want to repeat
come
it.
On
so
in. Come on in and ask your question on the mic.
Hi there.
Yeah, come on in a little bit closer so we can see you a little bit.
A bit closer. Okay. So the town, the ancient city, you pronounce it how?
Shadar Logoth?
No. I'm sorry. It's Manetherin?
Oh, their old city, yeah.
Manetherin. Right, okay.
Manetherin, yes,
Okay,
I believe it's...
So then how do you pronounce the river? Because in my head, it was Manetherin, and then Manetherindrel kind of flows off the tongue a little more easily than the alternative.
So
am I crazy here?
I'm not sure. That's a great question. I don't know how they pronounce it in the show. It's definitely Manetherin for the city,
Right.
but I kind of pronounce it Manetherin in my head, Manetherin. But I think that sometimes you have a base of something, but a long time has passed. Words change a little bit.
The one time, not the one time, but one of the main times Michelle would be handy as a linguist here, because she would explain how that probably happens over time.
Say, if they try and use Manetherindrel, that's going to sound...
Nope. Yeah.
It's not going to sound as good.
Yep.
It's not going to sound as
Yep.
good.
That's a real Steve Ann situation.
And this is in episode 4, but I love the fact that they kind of poke fun about how the readers and different people pronounce things differently, because these are all new words.
Yeah.
With Nynaeve's name.
Yeah.
Where she comes back and she says,
Yeah.
"Oh, Nynaeve.
Nynaeve.
I don't know how to pronounce it."
Yeah.
And
Again,
we're like, same.
I am a only book reader, not an audiobook listener. So my pronunciations, as always, viewers, is going to be off, because I read 13 books, just pronouncing it in my head. And most of the time I made up my own names for things. So like Nynaeve was just N.
Well, and so I think I pronounced it Nynaeve to begin with.
Nynaeve.
Because that makes more
It just
sense.
seemed like I had too many vowels in it. It seemed very like Swedish to me.
And I also pronounced Egwene.
Egwene.
Until I got the audiobooks, and that
again,
helped a lot.
Why is it a weird Hobbit situation where the men have like very simple, dumb names, and the women have like very long, flowing, beautiful names?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I assume Michael Kramer has the definitive pronunciation.
I think that so the audiobook reader, which is, you said his name right. Michael Kramer. And then the woman was Kate Reading. I think they talked to the author to get the pronunciations.
Well,
so we're going to say that they're like close to correct.
I don't know if they hired the guy, listeners, viewers, if you know this. I know they hired someone to make up the rules, like make up the old tongue for the show. I'm wondering if it's the guy who did like Dothraki and the Belter patois from The Expanse. Like, there's one guy who's been doing this, making up fancy languages that haven't had rules. I want to know if this is the guy or if there's a new guy, which would be exciting too. But the Dothraki guy knows what he's doing. So
my favorite is that, like, unlike Tolkien, who just like made up languages
and
the whole basis of the languages, and that like you got the whole detail and everything else. This is clearly like not quite as in depth.
Oh, I would like to start a drinking game every time someone asks, "Would you like to know what blank is in the old tongue?" That should be our drinking game
I think it could be a hit up.
because it's at least 3 times per episode. So
Yeah, that could
at
be
a minimum.
We should
Yeah.
maybe the next one. Let's make some rules
Yeah.
up now that we've
Oh,
watched a couple
yeah.
episodes to drink while we watch. For anyone joining us, come to Inner Circle.
Yeah.
We will. You can join our drinking game. Also, I feel like that would be a great pickup line.
Yeah. Okay, so we're 15 minutes in. And I think we've summarized the episode. I
Okay,
think.
so we got to the point. I think we talked about it. There wasn't a whole lot there, and then they separate, and so now we're in 3 different storylines, which I think is great.
Well, because you can slow the story down
And get more
when
details
you're
from
doing
each
point of view
character.
chapters. Yeah.
It's really hard to get a lot of like one character's storyline when you have so many characters
That's why
in the same scene.
That's one of the many reasons the Hobbit movies don't work, is because all of the dwarves stay together, and so you can't really tell them apart because then you never have time with just 2 of them.
Honestly, the dwarves, the hobbits do. Like honestly, even now the hobbits are all pretty much the same.
How dare you?
I know. I'm sorry.
That's real classic Perrin. Fuck, whatever their names are. Pippin. There
Exactly.
we go.
You don't even know their names because they're all the same. They're all just hobbits.
Listen.
They have like they eat 9 times a day and they have hairy feet. And besides that,
And they smoke weed
and
and eat
one
a
of,
lot.
and some of them are like a little snarkier than the others. But what's the difference?
Yeah.
But when you separate them, like once you separate them, like you knew who Sam was.
Yeah.
You didn't know who he was before they separated. He just kind of faded into the background.
Again, I would like to insert a poll here for our viewers and listeners. If they are also, when they reread The Lord of the Rings, just bypass the Sam Frodo chapters when they reread it, because I certainly do. Because boring. Anyway, yeah. Okay. Can we talk about the fairy? The fairy at the very beginning of the episode. I would like to game theory this out for you, because either that's the dumbest ferryman in existence.
Sorry, we're still in episode 2. We're about to jump to 3, but we're on fairy 2 to wrap up before we move on from 2.
Yes.
He had a big issue with the
I
fairy.
have a big issue with the ferryman, who is either an idiot or Moraine is terrible at communication. Because clearly, you're looking across the river, right? There are thousands of Trollocs. And he's like, if you destroy my boat, how am I going to get my son? And my question is, are you going to go get him right now?
Oh, no, it was dumb. And it was definitely a throwback to the book where she had to sink it, but it made more sense in the book because you couldn't see the Trollocs. And
Yeah.
he wanted to be like, no, that's my livelihood. And so I think he was like, oh, my son's coming. Is like, you want to go back there and save your son?
Your son's either dead or can see all those Trollocs and was like, I'm going to wait. It was dumb. Like,
So it made sense.
It was people acting the way the plot needed them to, not logically.
Exactly.
And I felt like that was rushed. Like, they didn't have time to fix it, so they just wanted to move on. But if you're going to show Moraine sinking the boat and showing
how callous she could be. It was more about the goal and not about the people.
and like,
she's not a teddy bear.
She's not,
She's
but
not
like,
soft and cuddly.
Yeah, but like Rand has actual issues with her later on, but like these made up issues where she does the right thing for without explaining
reason.
it. Yeah, not stupid reasons. Like, it was the right reason to do. Like, that guy was just being dumb. He was being plot dumb and plot focused, and I'm like, just don't have him then. Have him just steal the thing then.
But here's the thing.
Anyway.
People are dumb in emergencies. When something bad is happening,
Yeah.
you don't act rationally all the time. I can't think of an example right now where there's a major, worldwide catastrophe where people acted maybe not in their best interest and just did things because they just had like that impetus to and more
I
on
believe
feeling than
every
actions.
disaster movie ever.
Right. So
Except for The Day After Tomorrow, strangely enough, who threw us a curveball with the breaking of the love triangle. Shout out to Ryan Flippo. He gets it. Just follow your feelings, man.
Yeah.
He understands.
just follow your feelings. Sometimes you act irrationally,
Yes.
and I think that's understandable, but it did come off as dumb.
Can we talk about the dream with the bats real quick?
Go for it.
Because I almost threw up. Like, the first time I watched that. It was disgusting. Like, the guy looked like he was choking something up, and I was almost like, "Oop." Like, he did a very good job, because that was real gross. And like, so well done, show. You did good there, because
Can I say, in the books, it's rats. Not the exact same thing with like coming out of the mouth.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have a bat come out of someone's mouth than a rat. I don't know why. They're both filthy
listen, I
and
feel like
disgusting.
if you're gonna have a rat, it's gotta come out somewhere else.
No.
No. Internet knows.
No. We're moving on. We're moving on past the dreams now. I was going to delve into it further, but I can't. It's been tainted.
Listen,
it's been tainted.
It's been tainted like Satan?
Yeah. So, yes.
Satan? I don't know. The spice? Satan?
Sadar and Sidon, the two
Which they have
halves
not
of the
introduced
weaving.
those yet.
They have not used
by
those
name.
terms, but you have the weaving. So I want to talk about this later because
fine.
not only do I have a lot to say about the Dark One's Taint, but I think that would be a great
I
band
bet
name.
you do. Yeah. The Dark One's Taint.
That actually should have been our. Exactly. I actually feel like the Dark One's Taint could have been the name of our podcast too.
That's true. I feel like Apple would just naturally not want to push us if we had the word taint in our title.
You know what? That's true.
Here's the thing: Amazon might like it though. They're trying real hard to get into podcasts, even though they make it impossible to find where their podcasts are. So
that's fine. All right, so we've separated. Now let's go through the three storylines.
Yes.
So the first one that comes up, like we really kind of work on, starting with 3, is Nynaeve. So Nynaeve was captured. We found out that she escaped by being a badass, kind of, and lucky, and very, very lucky.
Okay, can we talk about the orc level of stupidity that those Trollocs showed?
And then they attacked each other.
Yeah.
Because I watched it with...
are they cannibals in the books? I don't remember.
They do. They eat each other in the books,
Okay.
but usually like when they're starving. Because I was watching with people who hadn't read, and they're like, oh my God, do they attack each other normally? I'm like, oh, yes and no, yeah. That was kind of a weird thing because he was hurt. They're like, was he putting out his misery? I'm like, no, they don't care about that. I think it was like
oddly enough, Trollocs very empathetic towards each other.
Very empathetic. Like they're like, oh, he's clearly dying.
Their superpower is empathy.
Let me rip out his guts to end it sooner, but he wasn't trying to end it sooner.
I eat his guts so I can feel his feelings.
Maybe he was starving. So there might have been. So this is kind of why I would say that she was captured. At this point, I think we find out later there were 5 potential dragons, dragon reborns. She is one of them. So instead of killing her, I think they might have been trying to capture all of them, and she was the only one that was captured.
So and she was Merry and Pippin in this situation.
Yes.
Northern Shadow.
So I think that's the best way to explain it without it coming off as weird. And it makes sense.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's weird is the WWE has now transitioned to like 15 guys in the ring. Again, very distracting. Anyway,
so she hunts him down, shows her skills. At this point, they've separated, so we just have Moraine and Lan because Moraine is very seriously hurt.
Yep.
Nynaeve comes up to him, demands to know where her townspeople are, which is very on brand for her, and then not only attacks him, attempts to stab Lan, and then after she's knocked out and wakes up, basically says, I will help, but I need these things, and he says, you're not in any position to ask for demands. She's like, no, I'm making a threat. All on brand, all badass. I love this actress. I think she's doing a great job. I think she's making Nynaeve more likable in the TV show than she was in the books. Because I love her later on, but in the books, it's a little rough. She can come across as naggy, but in this one, she's not naggy. She's like, no, I know what I want. I know I'm young. I know I'm a woman. I know I'm probably the least powerful. She's surrounded by people not as powerful for her.
Did they age her up in equal amount of years as the other characters? So
Yes.
she's like 25 to their 21?
25,
'Cause
26.
She was older than them in the books, too.
They are. So she's like
Okay.
that 25, 26. And that makes more sense. And like we said earlier, with her and Land, which you can kind of see, they're flirting in the TV show. It is not as creepy as it was in the books.
Yeah. Definitely was creepy in the books, even though it happened like 6 books in. I was like, ew.
So
He's like 80.
Yeah, well, he's like in
50.
his late 50s,
Listen,
mid to late 50s.
we don't know how long people live in this world, so we don't know if it's a Dunedain situation
but
or
he's clearly older in the TV
Yeah.
shows, but not in a way that it looks uncomfortable.
So I always thought he was kind of youngish in the books, but that's just, I think because of just of the power he shows. But anyway, that's a later discussion.
That's a later discussion. And so she's able to help, using her wisdom skills, heal Moraine enough until they run into the other Aes Sedai. And this is something that I love in the TV show. So we're merging 3 and 4 episodes here. We're just going to go by storyline. So it really comes to fruition in the 4th episode where they come across the other Aes Sedai. And I love this scene. I think you get a lot of history on the Aes Sedai, how they're different without having to be like, I don't know anything. Let me explain it to you. These were very real conversations, but really laid out a lot of things. You had to pay attention. I feel like me knowing it was different, where if I didn't, like, you would really have to pay attention, but I thought it was really well done.
That was a good use of using like the visual medium of television to summarize like 3 books worth of exposition you have to do about the different colors and how some Aes Sedai have more waters than others, and
some are
have
more
sexual
powerful.
Like some have sexual relationships. Somehow how they have to do things in groups, etc., etc.
The waters were awesome.
Oh yeah, I love them drinking and just
incredible.
like sharing stories and like making fun of each other. That was fun.
It shows that there's a connection not only when they get hurt, but when they drink, it also affects them. Like that's how tight their bond is, and I thought that they did that really well.
Yeah, I like how Lamb was like, "You get emotional every time I drink,"
and I like how it showed that both Moraine and Lan are very like rigid and straight faced, and you're like, "Oh, is that how all they are?" And they're not.
No,
that's just
they
how
literally held
both
hands,
of them are.
and I'm pretty sure they both orgasmed at that moment. So
that's not the impression I got. But
listen,
here's the thing. Sometimes you just need comfort, especially when you're like, hey, there's only us. We're the only ones who understand this. They're so far into their own shit. They don't smell their own shit. And I think that you realize that slowly over time in the books where you're like, oh my God, they're amazing. They know everything. They're super wise. And at the end, you're like, okay, they are those things, but they're also like so serious and so bent on this. You know, I mean, saving the world. But they're like, we're the only ones who can do this. This is a 20-year mission. And seeing the other Aes Sedai even this early on and other warders going, what? They're so straight and closed mouth. And could you imagine dinner with them? And I'm like, yeah, that would be terrible. So you got to see Aes Sedai being women and warders being warders.
Introvert Thanksgiving.
So that's why you don't think that, like, oh, all Aes Sedai are very straight. Everything kind of hard. They don't show emotions.
Apologies to all the introverts out there.
But yeah, but they're not, this is not how all Aes Sedai and warders are. Yeah. These are just them. And I like the fact that they showed that early on instead of much later. And I thought I thought they did an amazing job with the warders and the Aes Sedai and the power balance. Because not only do you learn like every relationship between warders and Aes Sedai is different, but also like of the 7, only 3 until Moraine got there could hold the Logain. They're like, you know, in that bond thing, not bond, but
the shield.
The shield, thank you.
I mean, so for our listeners, episode 4 was pretty much all the Moraine, Lan, Nynaeve storyline, and it delved deep into the Aes Sedai and their different powers, all the things we've been talking about, and then ends with a massive battle where you see how effective one Aes Sedai and their warders can be.
They're really powerful because not many Aes Sedai are that powerful.
Yeah.
And you got to see Nynaeve be a badass. Also, I love the fact that, and I think we're going to see this more in episode 5, that the TV show, I think, does a much better job in the books of setting up this mystery of who the Dragon Reborn is. It could be any 5 of them. And so far, they've already pointed to 3 of the characters, and pretty strong, 2 of them in very strong ways, where you're like, oh. And so I kind of, I would have loved to like just wipe my memory for a little bit and kind of go in going, who is the Dragon Reborn? And have that mystery. Because not only do I not have it because I did read the books, but even though the characters don't realize it till the end of the books, but as a reader, they basically tell you right at the beginning.
Yeah, like I'm rereading the first book, and I can tell you, even though they haven't said it yet, and I'm like 70% way through the book, like, you know.
No, they make it very obvious without saying it.
Yeah.
And it takes away that mystery. Like, it's still good. Yeah. Like, I love the first book, but I kind of wish they had kept that mystery longer. And I love the fact that the TV show's doing it, and I think that's another way that they've done it better. And just showing the Aes Sedai at the beginning, and then also Logain, and showing that, like, okay, we know what the dragon is, but we can't hear about false dragons. What does that mean? And you get to see male channeling, which is amazing. So I don't know if you noticed this. I thought it was really well done. I really paid attention every time he channeled. So I really like the visual effects of the women channeling. You get to see the weaves, because they call it the weaves, and like it's not just like power, boom. They weave these things around to create different things.
It's not the Harry Potter whipping things out of the wand
like
thing.
They have it's like almost like threads, it's thick threads that they weave together. And with the women, I don't know if you noticed, they're all white and pure.
Yeah.
And with Logain, they are not straight black, but they're gray.
They're oily. They're oily.
They're oily. They're dark because, and this is, I'm going to bring it up again. The Dark One's Taint. Band name, I'm saving it. Name of my sex tape, The Dark One's Taint. And they're able to show it in a really awesome way, because when you watch it, and if you really pay attention, most of his weaves when he starts out start off white and then go dark pretty quick. And then you wave in like white and dark.
Okay.
And when he goes crazy, when he sees things and he hears these voices of previous dragons, because this is a will, everyone's reborn.
Okay, we need to stop. Did you notice if those are old... Even if he's crazy and he's imagining those old dragons talking to him, at least one of those old dragons was a woman, was a female voice. So is that the show saying that the dragon is sort of like genderless?
Oh, yeah. No, it is. It's genderless. You can be reborn either gender. I think
it's a Doctor Who.
it's a Doctor Who. It's a
situation
Doctor
now.
Who, which they in the books you tend to be born the same gender, but
Yeah.
I feel like there's been possibilities like they talk about things where they do switch genders occasionally.
I feel like there's a Forsaken that switched genders, right?
Well, but that's
Sort of.
through other things.
Spoiler alert. But yes, question.
Here's the thing that grind my gears. Maybe it's too early for this, but when that particular Forsaken switches genders, she.
Oh wait, we're gonna have a grind my gears moment, so I'm gonna switch out real quick. Come on up. I want like a Lewis Black. This is what really irks me.
Yeah. Get into something that hasn't happened in the show yet.
So, I think it's an open question of for whether, let's say you're a channeler, is your soul somehow linked to the side of the one power that you're channeling? Because I only ask this because one of the Forsaken, and I don't remember
Which
what
one?
his name
Yeah.
was.
Or which book?
When they switched, they were still channeling Sidin.
You are correct. Yes. Okay. That's interesting. Yes. Okay. All right.
So if that's the case, then there's like a whole bitch, like they're kind of
Interesting.
upending some of the mythology.
There's
perhaps.
definitely thank you, Jason. There's definitely a philosophical question about both in the books and now in the TV shows, if the soul maintains its connection to its original gender source. And if no matter how many times you've been a woman, for example, if you were a man first, that you're always using the tainted side or not. And that's a question they're going to have to answer at some point, or they're going to write their way out of it. But I feel like they're setting that up.
They intentionally made it to where dragons are men or women. Obviously, the women aren't going to have the Dark One's taint. Can we just do a drinking contest where, like,
Yes.
every time I say Dark One's taint,
Yep.
we just take a drink?
Cheers.
So I think that, it does mess with a lot of things in the book. So I get why that would grind the gears.
I mean, listen, when you're writing a 14-book fantasy epic, like you're gonna lose track of some things. So that happens.
But I think they're just making a big departure in the TV show, and I'm here for it. Here's the thing. I feel like women hold a lot of the major roles and a lot of power in this world. Why couldn't they be the Dragon Reborn?
Yeah. Now, for people who are watching this podcast for whatever reason and who are not book readers, the things we're discussing actually could literally change the end of the story. And so I'm very interested to see what they do about this.
This is why they're grinding my gears. Also, I was told that we've given a little bit of hints to who the Dragon Reborn is. And while I've said that they made a big push to show Nynaeve could be, like, she was so powerful that she wowed Logain at the end. And they're like, oh my God, this could be the Dragon Reborn. If you're listening to this, spoilers, I'm not going to say who it is. It's not Nynaeve.
It's not.
I think we've pretty much
Here's
said
the thing.
that.
You can.
But I'm not gonna tell you
You
who
can
it is.
accidentally get spoiled by this, like from the internet. Like it's not.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You can't keep a secret this old.
Can't keep a
But
secret this old.
We'll wait till the show does it.
I'm
Honestly,
glad the show was waiting.
Yeah.
And we're trying not to let people know, but
I mean,
clearly when we
we're
discuss
ki-
things like
honestly,
men
I'm
and women and
sad
the
because
dragon.
everyone who the show
We're
is
giving
teased
things
being the
away.
dragon would be a much more interesting dragon to me. So, but we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see what
Nynaeve would be amazing.
Oh man, God, so
The actress killed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Her interactions with Lan nailed it. Her interactions with Aes Sedai, spot on. Like
Yeah.
everything they've done so far with this
Honestly,
character.
she hasn't pulled her braid enough.
Well, that's true. But she did. She smoothed her skirts.
She did smooth her skirts
She
today.
smoothed her
which was
skirts
great.
twice. I have not seen a braid pull, but if I do not see one by the end of the season,
Yeah.
I'm writing.
Robert Jordan knew two things about women: is that they like to smooth their skirts and pull their braids. That was it. So
That's how you show emotion.
Yeah.
When you want to say,
I don't know what
I'm
weird,
angry,
emotionless women he hung out with, but that is what he saw.
That's how they give clues. The only way you can non-verbally give clues to what your mood is in Robert Jordan's world is smoothing skirt, tugging braid, or scowling.
Well, I will tell you, for our listeners and viewers, if you want to check out how men do this, if you watch the honest trailers for Avengers Endgame, they point out that Captain America just swallows while not drinking a lot. So his chin, his muscles in his face just tighten up all the time. That's how he shows that he's stressed, and he does it a lot. So we all have our things.
We all have our ticks.
You know, honestly, I've always been a fan of skirts. I'd always like a little more air down there. So
Sometimes
I'm all
you gotta
for it.
smooth 'em.
Yeah. The Scottish have this down. Like, it's all where it's
But
all
the
where
rest of
kilts.
it spot on. I think they did a great job with land, and I did a great job with the Aes Sedai. I have no complaints there. And I loved this, a little bit different than the books. The scene with Logain and all of it in the battle was awesome. I was blown away. That's been my favorite part of the series so
Here's
far.
the thing: making Logain more dangerous, which I feel the TV
Was
show
awesome.
is doing, also makes when the Dragon Reborn, the real Dragon Reborn, starts using their power, that's gonna make that even more terrifying
Nailed it.
because you see how powerful he is. He like literally took over a city by himself, pretty much.
Well, it was a kingdom.
Yeah, it was a kingdom.
There's a whole kingdom. Galdean.
Cumberland?
And
Kirtland,
Galdean.
Chaldeum,
Galdean.
Chaldeum,
Gildan.
Gildan?
There we go. Gildan.
Gildan,
Galdean. Gildan. Gildine.
Gildine.
You know what? Pronunciation.
Gillidan.
He got the king on his side. He has an army that didn't
listen,
back up, even though they're
listeners,
fighting magic users.
At Amazon for our pronunciation mistakes, since they didn't give us like a a pronunciation tool.
Yeah, we need the help.
Which, by the way, funny note, just a funny story that has nothing to do with Wheel of Time. They handed out a glossary sheet before David Lynch's Dune film, which a young Judge John Hodgman helped him realize that the writers didn't know how to do their jobs if you have to hand out a glossary in the movie theater to explain your film. So
Yeah.
all I'm saying is,
But they're doing a
Amazon,
better job than that.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out Amazon's like animated backstory, like films, they're like 5 minutes long. They're very great, and one of them talks about like the breaking of the world, thousands of years ago, and they do a very good job of it.
So I personally,
they're hidden in like the Amazon Prime thing, but they're there.
you're told in the books how dangerous Logain was until he, was stilled. But you don't really get that vibe in the book. It was scary. It was like he was frightening. Here's the thing. I'm just gonna say he was fake Jesus. It was Jesus Logain, and he killed it. Like he was definitely like, oh, I know why people followed him. Like he's like cult leader / Jesus / dangerous, and know he's dangerous with the like ego and most of the power go behind it. Whereas like, oh, if they had left him in the wild longer and he had like more and more armies, they could not have stopped
Like,
him.
listen, this is a joke for literally 3 of my friends who are also Jewish historians, but he's a real Shabbatai Zvi character. There you go. Anyway, that's for
Shout out.
Shout out to the Judaism's one big fake Messiah. Anyway, yep. See, everyone, like the name is familiar as soon as I say it out loud, but that's what he is, right?
No, he is. He's the fake Messiah.
But here's the thing: is he? The whole point of the story is that like because all these male channelers are happening more and more often because the real Dragon Reborn is coming. There's like a crack in whatever the thing is. The way they presented Logain made me feel like he has ample reason to think that he is the Dragon Reborn.
Oh no, he does.
Yeah,
But he's crazy.
yeah. But here's
Once
the thing.
again, here's the thing.
I
The
almost
Dark
said-
One's
I almost
Taint
said who the dragon is. That person's also
will make
crazy
you
for
crazy.
a while.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Listen, power corrupts, so it makes everyone crazy.
Hey.
Truth bomb.
All right.
Anyway,
So that is 1. That's 3 and 4 of 1. And that's so far my favorite storyline. All right. So let's move on.
Like episode 4, by far the best episode so far.
So far.
Like it looked better than the other
Yeah.
ones. Maybe because it had no Trollocs in it. Again, just not a fan of the amount of Trollocs I see. Like, make it darker. I don't need to see them fake CGI running through forests. Anyway, pet peeve of my own. But by the way, Croatia still looks great. Shout out to Croatia. Well
Shout out
done.
to Croatia.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Which would have been, by the way, Middle Earth if the movie in the 90s had been made. That's where they were going to film it. It looks pretty good to me.
Looks
So,
good.
It's no New Zealand, but
So I thought that was great. So we're gonna move on. Which one do you prefer? I'll let you pick the next storyline.
I prefer. Let's do the Egwene and Perrin.
Perfect.
So-
all right. So they go off. We have the first clue that Perrin's a little bit different. Where the wolves chase him and kind of lead him, but back off, which is scary. Wolves are scary. If they were chasing me, I would run like they ran. And then also they licked his injury.
Yeah, what's up with that?
So I've always been a dog owner. I'm a dog lover. I will have an accident and have like a scar or something like that, and my dog will lick it. And I'll be like, no, that's probably really gross. Your mouth can't be that clean. But it could be healing. I don't know.
Dogs'
I'm not a
mouths
doctor.
are actually like they're both incredibly disgusting, but also because they're incredibly disgusting, also have incredible like
Macrobiotic.
Yeah, like their
Qualities.
mouths are doing like what our small intestines do, I guess, in a weird way. Anyway,
So maybe that's
we
what
don't
it
need to
is.
get into dog trivia, but
Or wolf trivia. Maybe
but
wolves do
also
that too.
wolves look down upon dogs, so that's another interesting thing. Also, did you think those wolves looked real?
Are we getting? Or is this another CGI conversation?
No, so here's the thing. I'm pretty sure they shot wolves, but those wolves were not in the same place as Perrin was. And you know how I know? Because they didn't show them in one scene together. They showed a very dog-looking wolf licking him, and then that was it. And then it was cross-cut, back and forth, back and forth. Anyway, not that it matters.
I don't believe it.
It's a Jon Snow
I am 100
ghost
convinced.
situation.
I'm 100% convinced.
That's true. That's true.
That is true. And we all know animals can get COVID.
Yeah, wolves known throughout the world as anti-vaxxers. So, yeah, you know, I can tell a wolf what to do.
Yeah, let's just hope this is not Game of Thrones, where like you have these like really awesome wolves and they just disappear.
Yeah, what the fuck? I'm still angry about that.
I'm still angry
George
about
R. R.
that.
Martin, fix it.
He's not doing anything. So we have the wolves. So
I'm looking forward to Brad Sanderson finishing the Game of Thrones.
That's our only clue that Perrin is different. But here is where I'm going to do a little throwback to his dead wife. So we get to the Tinkers.
I really should have a sad playing for that. That's all I got.
So we have the.
What was her name?
Oh God, what was her name?
Begin with an L.
Luna?
Drink for
Lana?
Perrin's nameless dead wife.
I was very sad.
Learner.
A toast for Lena. So
Layla. I'm gonna do a Layla drop.
I read a little bit about this, and it made more sense to me. And actually thinking about it more once they got to the Tinkers, a lot of Perrin's battle, that as readers we know, is his internal struggle between the axe, which is a warrior, and the damage he could do in losing himself, and the hammer as a blacksmith, where he creates things. And I think that's a great internal struggle, and he's the one who best represents it. So we have the way of the leaf, where he comes across it and he learns that, hey, there's another way. There's a way of peace and love and hippie things, and she says, hey, have you killed someone? Have you fought with an axe? How'd that make you feel?
I haven't killed a human being.
And I think he has that in struggle in the books, but there's not a good way to physically represent that for like a movie or TV show, unless you show where he regrets using a weapon of war. And
Here's
so
the thing,
that's why
you could have had
the imaginary wife had to die.
I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna disagree with you here, because they easily could have had a conversation between him and Elias, who is not on the TV show, talking about violence, and that could have solved all those problems. But instead,
But it's not as emotional. Talking about violence, being like, oh, I don't want violence, it's a different thing than, oh my God, no, I'm traumatic about this, because this follows him for a long time. It has to be traumatic. And from what I understand, the first script had him killing his blacksmith master when he was just which would have also been dramatic, but
at least that's a character we know who wasn't invented for the show.
Also these kids got aged up to their 20s, so it wouldn't make sense from all these kids from a small town to not be married. Yeah, and to still be awkward and single.
I think it would have been great to have like one character who like leaves their significant other in of the two rivers and goes on this adventure and then meets them later on. Like, you didn't have to kill her.
Make the story even weirder and more complicated.
Listen, but
sometimes people have to die.
Now, for whatever amount of seasons they get, Perrin's gonna have this weird fake trauma that is not attached to my memory of his journey.
First of all, it's real trauma. He killed his real wife. She's a real person, and I'm offended on her behalf.
I'm offended on her behalf. We're both offended for different reasons. I'm offended because she was fridged. Look it up, people.
But if you're going to have this internal struggle, I'd rather have it be a real internal struggle, not like, oh, wouldn't it be terrible if I killed people? When we see so much death.
I'm sorry, like, we have proven successes of showing characters who have to be violent not enjoying violence. It's not like an unbreakable code.
Who?
I'll get back to you next episode. So, I've had a rough couple days. But I know it can be done.
So, we're going to disagree on this.
Yeah.
But after resting, reviewing, rewatching a couple times, it was still shocking to me. I'm on board with killing Lalana now. She had to die.
Wow.
Sometimes people have to die.
Wow.
Here's the thing. It's the way of the leaf. Sometimes the leaf falls.
Sometimes the leaf falls. Sometimes... Wait, hold on. Sometimes the leaf falls on you. Sometimes you have to fall on the leaf. Oh.
So it is. And then we have Egwene, who started a fire and otherwise has been pretty boring. So unless you have anything to talk about with her, here's the thing. I think they kind of did her wrong where, she has Aram, the tinker, who she flirts with a little bit, but she doesn't come on strong, which is fine. Because I could have been like, oh, if she like flirts back, they're going to make her seem very friendly. I was trying to find a nice way to say that.
Listen, I mean, here's the thing.
She gets on with Rand.
Yeah.
She flirts with the first boy she comes across, not from her village.
Yeah.
It's not a good look, Wayne.
Listen, we've totally bypassed like Rand almost getting it on with a dark friend.
Wait, we're not at their story point yet.
Sorry.
All right. But now, do you have anything else to say about Egwene?
No,
I think they're going to focus on her next because she's the one they focus on the least.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to show that all 5 have the potential to be the Dragon Reborn, and they have not shown where she has that potential yet.
I will say I like how they did the Tinkerers. Tinkerers are it's a long payoff for the Tinkerers. And they're not in most of the books. They float in and out. But I thought they did a pretty good job of them.
I thought they did a good job.
I'm still mad Elias isn't there. I feel like even though he's not like a super important character, he's an entrance point for Perrin and for the readers to understand Perrin's journey.
But they haven't. Here's the thing. I think they're going to focus on that next because you haven't gotten a lot from Egwene or that much for Perrin.
That's true. It's really just it was them running across.
I feel like we're going to see this next episode. Yeah, no, we're going to see it next episode. So hold your horses.
Yeah,
we're not even halfway through. No, we're literally halfway through the season now.
Yikes.
Wow. Wow, that was fast.
Again, justice for Bella. She's been named once. How dare they?
I assume the white horse is Bella because I'm looking for her.
They killed Bella. That's right.
Did they kill the Bella?
Is she the one who got eaten?
Well, I mean, where is she? She's gone.
Is she the white horse?
Where is she?
I thought she was with the
I want this to be a how this get made
Because
situation where you have shirts that says "Where's Bella?"
When I was looking for Bella, so when Nynaeve comes across them, you have 3 horses. You have Lance horse, where he carries him and Moraine. You have Nynaeve on a horse, and you have a white horse. And I think the white horse is
Bella. I think
Moraine's.
the white. Oh, yeah, the white.
So I think the one that Nynaeve is riding is Bella. I think Bella's still alive.
The 2 black horses that look like identical.
Yeah,
one has to be Bella.
Listeners, tell us if you know if Bella's still alive.
Let's take a vote.
Let's take a vote.
I think Bella's still alive.
I'm worried Bella went the way of Perrin's wife, whose name we can't remember. Your bartender agrees. So,
right.
Okay.
So we're moving on to
we're
Rand
47
and
minutes
Matt.
into this. So yeah. So where's Matt and Rand and the character that was finally introduced?
Tom Maryland.
Yeah.
Also one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
So
again, I'm sad he doesn't have a mustache. I know it's ridiculous, but he literally twirls his mustache a lot.
And R.I.P. Gleeman's cloak.
Well,
No, do you see the flash?
They did show it. It does have its thing. I know. Well,
it was on the inside. They said, we're not going to do this. That's ridiculous. But we're going to show it on the inside. He basically flashes everyone.
He does.
Like a little nudge and a wink saying, hey, book readers, there you go. Shut up.
Yeah. Are you happy
No,
now,
shut
book
up.
readers? No, I'm not. Hashtag justice for Bella.
Hashtag
justice for Perrin's wife.
Hashtag justice for Tom Maryland's
Yeah.
mustache.
Hashtag Elias? Question mark.
I think we're done with hashtag.
Hashtag rats.
So we learned 2 things.
Also, okay, hold up. I thought about this earlier and I forgot it, and now I remembered again. Is it weird that in the first book, in all their dreams, the bad guy, the Dark One, talks to them? The Dark One in their dreams has not spoken once. It's just like screamed.
Has he not? I thought he talked to him.
He has not spoken. He's not spoken a word.
In the reread?
No, in the show.
Well, no.
In
But
the
he
reread,
does in the books, but not in the show.
Yeah. Like, his talking was more terrifying to me than looking at him because he knows so much about them, or he thinks he does.
Once again, I think you really want to sidestep a hokey factor.
So you think the bad guy talking in a dream is hokey?
It could be. Like, if we saw that, like, he was scary. If he's like, hello.
But again,
I'm coming for you.
I want to clarify that fridging a made-up character to give someone more trauma, not hokey.
That was not hokey. I gasped.
Yeah, I gasped too, because why? Anyway, we're going to disagree on this.
We're gonna have a hokey battle.
8 seasons.
We're getting the hokey pokey.
Yeah.
All 8 episodes.
Yeah. Let's turn this thing around. That's what this
We're going to turn
podcast
things
is about.
around. So, all right. We have about 10 minutes left, and we're going to talk about Rand and Matt. So, the one thing that characters do that because they're dumb and naive, and Matt wants to make money, everything else. He steals a dagger from Shadow Logoth.
Yeah, I can't believe we didn't even mention that till now.
And clearly, and it shows it more in the 4th episode, it's making him have that evilness that took over the city a little bit. It's making him in a more sour mood. He's moodier.
It's clearly the Ring of Power / a Horcrux.
It is those things. It's the Horcrux.
Yeah.
It's the ring. Evil things affect you. Clearly Matt is not a reader of the classics because he did not learn that.
Yeah, clearly Matt's illiterate.
And
That's
my
pretty
other favorite
clear.
thing is that so they meet Tom Maryland. He does a great job of showing them how naive they are by stealing their money.
Yep. Great Gleeman trick.
And then also Matt gets put in his place by the barmaid, which is great. When he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to cut wood. I'm not going to do these things," and she's like, "What are you good at?" He's like, "Horse trading," which is I think it's great, like throwback because he
He's
is.
talking about his dick.
Is he?
Yes.
Did I just now pick that up?
He's
Because he's a horse trader in the books too.
He's clearly talking about his penis.
Well, shit.
Like that was his come on. That was his come on line, and it failed horribly. It was pretty funny, but he wasn't talking. He was talking about his horses. His horses.
I'm not sold.
I think he thought he was trying to come on to her. I think
She
he
did not.
failed. Yeah.
So I think I got put on his place. I like Rand as like the wholesome sheep perv woolhead farm boy.
Yeah.
And he has been
Clearly
so far.
can't see a trap when he sees it. He's like, yeah,
No.
these rooms are really private.
When a
No one
cute-
can hear you scream. I mean, hear you.
Yeah, and it's like cute girl comes on to him, and he's like, he's not gonna
Yeah.
do anything, but he's like, oh, and he's like very flirty without realizing that she's coming on to him, and he's like, oh, this is leading to things I didn't know about.
Yeah.
Which I
He's like,
understand.
my pants feel weird.
I think
What
we've
is
all
this?
been there.
Yeah.
Wait, you're hitting on me?
Yeah.
What?
Like he's had sex. Like again, Book Rand would act that way, but Rand, who's like, had
Well,
sex
with
already.
someone he's grown up with. He's in a new environment. He's still young. He's kind of a wholesome farm boy.
He like she brought she brought 2 beers, 2 ales, and one for him, one for Matt. And Rand's like, here, have Matt's.
that was kind of smooth.
That was smooth. He's doing some real horse trading right there.
All right, so and that's the thing, and then we have Matt who's coming this, and then we have the big moment where the very who I liked her character.
Oh, yeah, she's great.
The very flirty barmaid.
I like how they combined like 18 pubs into one pub.
Oh, yeah.
And multiple dark friends into one dark friend.
No, it makes way more sense.
Yeah,
I
'cause
loved
literally almost their entire story in the book is them going from city to city, and it's boring.
It's boring. So we got the one dark friend. One, it showed how scary they are. The only unbelievable part to me that I was just like, what? Where she like chased them down. Awesome. They're running away from dark friend. She's clearly scary, and she has his sword, and so she shows it, and I'm like, this is a sword. They can run away. They could have headed back the way they were coming from through the town again. She is not so much faster that she could have it's not a gun. They could have gone away. That was the one point where I'm like, they were not backed into a corner. That I can understand. If they had their backs to a wall. No, they had their backs to a alleyway that they could have run from.
Yeah, I mean,
that sword's not that long.
She picked a weird time to, villain monologue.
Yeah.
But
I would have been gone.
But she's just because she's a dark friend doesn't mean she's an expert at things.
That's true.
How many times has she held a sword in her life? So,
But I get it. And I liked her backstory too. They gave her enough of a backstory where it's she wanted to get out. She didn't have a lot of choices. And she's like, hey,
her line,
I became a dark friend because this is what I
yeah,
have.
her line about how people are born into the dirt, spend all their lives in the dirt, and when they die, they have a little bit of that dirt thrown on top of them. That's some deep shit right there.
Oh, it
That's
was
some dark-
very
dark
Batman. Who's the supervillain and Batman?
The
That's
Joker?
I'm born in the dirt.
stuff. Bane?
Bane.
I
He
was born
very
in the
Bane.
darkness.
I was born in the darkness.
Okay, we have to do our Bane impressions now. Bane. Yeah.
I was born in the darkness.
Wow, I thought mine was bad, but anyway,
I don't do impressions.
yeah.
But it really was that. It's like, you can't hate me.
Yeah.
I'm not bad. I was born in the darkness. I was born in the dirt. This is all I've known. And then she said everyone has a terrible story and there's no good stories. Which when you're in a mining town,
Yeah.
whether you're in fantasy or not, that's probably true.
I do like how they're doing a much better job than the books did of showing the sort of class system, both CLASS and CASTE system that exists in the books, of how it's a feudal world. So there are the uber rich and everybody else.
Yeah.
And I mean, the books talk about it, but they don't spend a lot of time in it. Like the Dragon Reborn should have also been like breaking the economic system of the world, which he kind of does. They still don't talk about it, but I feel like the show is pointing that out in a good way.
And I think when there's like, okay, when you're like, I get it, you're born from the dark, you see badness, and then she's like, the only way to solve this is to end the world. And I'm like, and that's where you've lost everybody.
And then next tab.
So I like that, and it was shocking when she like the knife to the throat was shocking.
Oh yeah, again, the show doing a very good job of being incredibly gory.
And I like the early reference to the IEL, which I don't want to talk about. We don't have the time, but they're going to come up later. I like the introduction.
They're kind of a big deal.
They're kind of a big deal.
Also, another thing I'm going to mispronounce a lot because I pronounced it ale myself in the books. Because there's no apostrophe or emphasis that I know of. So, but whatever.
They escape from the Dark Friend, and they they're traveling, and they stumble upon a farm, and I like the ways they all handled it.
Yeah.
Matt, who's now becoming evil, is like takes out daggers. Tom is like, oh, let's just stay there, and then as soon as he's caught, it's like, oh no, we're just traveling through, friend, and he just lies. And Rand, the good farm boy, is like, hey, we were just gonna stay there.
Rand showing leadership.
He did show leadership.
Like he's honest with the guy. He's like, this is what I would have done if I was lying to you. And that shows him that people are going to look to him to be a leader.
And even though he's naive earlier, he does like, hey, if you were going to kill us, your group would have been different.
Yeah. I always listen, no one likes it more when the way you're holding a weapon is critiqued by the person you're pointing it at. That always works well.
It does.
But
so, and I like that, and I love, you also see like the Matt's wholesomeness, like with the sisters, with the little girl, and the doll, and that was great. And then you see him like throwing up and that evilness. And then
was his throw up black?
Yeah, and then it moved.
I did. Yeah, that's fucked up.
No, and I thought this is because there's a lot of it, like he just looks really run down and grumpy. Like, there's a physical representation in the show.
Is he throwing up evil?
Yeah. It's that blackness from the city.
He's like throwing up Catholic poop.
He is.
Which is evil. It should stay inside you.
And so you can see how it's physically affecting him, which I think is a great physical, representation that is better come across on TV than it did in the books. Again.
Yeah.
I think there's some things I'm disappointed in. It seemed okay, but there's some things I think they did really well, and that's one of them. And then, of course, the Fades show up again, the eyeless.
I like how the show was like, oh, you thought one Fade was scary. Here's 4.
Yeah.
Or 3. I'm not 100%
I don't know
sure
how many it was. But also, I love the fact that they you're like, oh, Matt has some evil in him. Let's show him blankly standing in front of a dead family. Because I watched it with some people who hadn't read the books. They're like, did he kill him? And I'm like, I don't think so. At this point, it's different enough. I can't tell you for sure. It makes more sense for it to be the Fades because they're there. But also, who knows?
Also, I loved how the Fades they slid back instead of walking back, which was a nice touch because they moved smoothly. It was nice touch. It was very again like weird.
But I want to notice that the dagger did not have any blood on it.
That's true.
And I think he came in there and then I think they were going to surprise all of them. And then he's like, I see you.
Yeah, he pointed to a Fade.
Yeah.
In the dark,
which you shouldn't be able to see.
No, because he's got he's got the evil, like the evil he's filled with is not the same evil as the Dark One's evil. It is separate evil.
Can we rephrase that? It's not the same evil as what?
The Dark One's evil.
The Dark One's taint.
The Dark One's taint.
I
had 2 buttons.
For that.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Cheers.
To the Dark One's taint.
To the Dark One's taint.
May it ever be whatever.
There's a name for it, isn't there?
I think that's what it is.
Is it Mashadar or something like that?
Oh, yeah. No, so not the Dark One's taint. Right. Cheers. But the other evilness is Mashadar. Oh, no, wait. Now I'm trying to get confused. Mashadar, I think, is actually the wind and the tunnels later on. I think that evilness is called. Now I'm blanking out. We'll get to it later. We're running out of time. Okay.
That's right. I'm going to add that part out.
We're going to edit all this out. But then we also have the monologue by Tom Maryland saying, hey, I saw this with my nephew. So all Tom's background and why he's helping them came out, which is great. And then he tied that to, this is what I saw in my nephew, who also had the one power and was taken for a false dragon.
That was a nice book change.
Yeah.
one, it adds to the mystery of who the Dragon Reborn is. Also, it makes
because like that's definitely like just like Nynaeve. Matt became a very big suspect in who could be Dragon Reborn just by that alone.
yeah. It was that was a nice touch. I honestly I didn't think we'd get Tom's backstory that quickly. So Tom has an even greater backstory, but we might not discover it because we're not going to that place in season 1 anyway. So
no, and I liked Tom's song. He'd only done one so far, and I liked it, but it was
that was also a new song.
As a new song, it was not as good as the other song, and it was not as good as the Toss a Coin.
Toss a coin to your Witcher, yeah.
To your Witcher
also,
song.
he didn't play his flute. And he didn't play his other
Well,
instruments.
he only does guitar. He doesn't play the lute or the flute, which are his main instruments, which I think the guitar it's, you know what? It makes more sense.
It's also hard to sing and play the flute at the same time, so.
It's true.
Also, no
I always have a hard time.
juggling as of yet. I'm just saying, here, by episode 4, I think the show's doing a lot better. I will say it's still pretty dark. Like, not dark lighting-wise, but dark in tone. And I was hoping Tom would lighten it up a bit, and he has yet to.
So I'm all in on the series. I think a lot of the changes they made is good, but also I feel kind of sad on some of the changes. We've toasted to, Perrin said why, but I would also like to toast right now as we're wrapping this up to the things I didn't get to see. We did not get to see Bear Lorne and them embarrass the White Cloak. So pour one out for that.
Yep.
We did not get to see them on the riverboat with the captain and all that. I was ready for that.
Jesus, yeah.
Can we pour one out for that?
That captain was hilarious.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad they shortened all the ends they were at. So I'm not going to pour anything out for that. Did I miss anything else? Did you?
Yeah. Well,
and then we're going to pour one out for Elias.
Yeah, for Elias. Sweet, gentle Elias.
Sweet, gentle Elias.
I will say they have not focused as much as the first book focuses on how you can tell an inn is good if the owner of it is fat versus skinny.
So now that we're in a tavern and I'm a tavern keeper, so to speak, I am clearly a pretty decent tavern keeper.
Yeah.
I'm not super skinny.
You can be better. You can be better, but you're not evil. So
I could be better. I could be fatter and jollier. I'm working on both those things.
I don't like the body shaming that the first book does with the innkeepers, but it's like just let them be themselves, man.
It's like, hey, you can always trust a fat cook.
Yeah. Can you though? I worry about them. I worry about their health. All right. Well, so episode 1 of this podcast we covered like episodes 1 and 2-ish, and now we've done like
2, 3, 4.
2, 3, 4. So episode 3, I guess we will cover episode 5, which is
so next week we'll cover episode 5.
Amazon, help podcasters out here, okay? Like for God's sakes.
There's so much to cover.
But we're over half. Like this was the halfway mark.
It's amazing. This is the halfway mark.
I'm still a little worried that they have 4 episodes to get to whatever they're gonna do to end book season 1, and I don't think they're even with 3 episodes and the finale. Like unless the season ends with the beginning of that thing, I don't see the character who has yet to have named the Dragon Reborn getting to that point yet. But we're
gonna see. I have high hopes for them. I think there's a lot they can do right. I think there's a lot they can do wrong.
I believe you have high hopes for them.
Yes, and for myself. I also just want to say, I personally am loving it. Like I was a little nervous after the first couple episodes. I'm now loving it. I'm in. I'm sold. Tell the story you want to tell it. Here's what I'm nervous about. It's gotten good ratings so far, and I've heard good feedback, but it has not entered the, zeitgeist at this point where everyone's talking about it.
And that is because like they have to release these. Like they're forcing us to like catch up, but you have to give us a week between each one.
Well, it's also the holidays and things like that. So I'm hoping it comes out because like by about halfway through, because a lot of people, unless you were like really into it and just like new shows or fantasy fans, stuff like that, or read the books, you didn't necessarily tune into the first couple episodes of Game of Thrones, even though they were highly ranked, but more and more people got to it because people were talking about it.
Yeah,
we need more people talking about it, and I don't know if we've gotten to that point yet, but I think we have potential to.
I mean, when did Game of Thrones become the thing? I think that was at least season 2 or 3. So,
well, I think that like it's kept like it got a little bit bigger, but I think it was mostly like the fans and the fantasy fans and the nerds and whatever, and then the like last episode was so shocking, it kind of threw it.
It did, but like its last like 4 seasons, like everyone was talking about it, not just fantasy nerds.
It took to season 2 or 3.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know the numbers between Amazon Prime and HBO, but I feel like more people probably have Amazon Prime. So we'll see what happens. I mean,
We're gonna see what happens.
I would say like for season 2, don't dump it on us. Like let us work our way through it. So Amazon, I know you're listening. You listen to everything we say. So listen to this.
Well, that's
one at a
been
time.
Wheel of Pod.
Wheel of Pod,
Episode
episode 2-ish. Thanks, everybody.